I want as real instruments as I can. I don't want keyboard stuff. None of the stuff that was like put on the album I never did any keyboard on it. Like all the sound effects and all the shit that I've done, like I did stuff at work. There's like massive, huge fuel silos, and we clean them out. They get, tested and stuff. So when they're empty, they hold some like fucking, I don't even know, like 100,000 fucking liters. They're fucking huge. But it's all empty. And I was there, we had to put the door back on and I just tapped on it, and the sound was like fucking amazing. So I said to my mate, Craig, I said, righto, I'm put my phone in there and I need you to tap and I'm just going to record it.
Greetings, friends. Welcome to episode 199 of Into the Necrosphere. We are one episode away from the grand milestone of episode 200, but we are getting there in fine style because this week, my good friend Matt Priso joins me to talk about the band SIK, the fantastic record that he put out earlier this year called Cast Below to Rise Above. We also spoke about his other musical projects, his art. We also got into some bodybuilding conversation. So this is a far-ranging chat. It is an absolute pleasure, as always, to catch up with him, and it's going to be coming your way very shortly. But before we get to that, I mentioned on last week's episode of the podcast that Mike Hill of Tombs and Scorpion Throne, also a fellow horseman of the podcasting apocalypse, has a new project out called Begotten Suns. Last weekend, they dropped a surprise release on us called Portraits of Desolation. If you haven't heard it yet, that is about to change right now. This is History of Burning. You just listened to History of Burning by Begotten Suns off their new EP, Portraits of Desolation. It, of course, features the musical stylings of Michael Hill, the mastermind behind Tombs and Scorpion Throne. Make sure you check out that EP. It's on Bandcamp right now, and I'll post a link in the description to the podcast if you want to head over there and show them your love and support. My friends, if you're new to the podcast and you like what you've heard so far, then make sure that you elbow drop the subscribe button on your platform of choice. Follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and X, and if you want to throw a couple of ducats the way of the podcast, you can get something in return. Head over to the Into the Necrosphere Teespring store and pick yourself out some of the fine merchandise on offer there. Also, you will be aware that I am a member of the Horsemen of the Podcasting Apocalypse, and we bring you quality content from Monday to Sunday, starting with Horrorwolf 666, hosted by the inimitable Brandon Legion every Monday. Every Tuesday, yours truly casts hexes and slays poses on Into the Necrosphere. Next week, of course, episode 200, the guest is going to be G14 Classified until the grand day of his unveiling. But like I've said before, he will be, without a shadow of a doubt, one of the most prolific guests we've ever had on the show, somebody that the Legion has been baying for, and it really well and truly is an episode that I would like to dedicate to all of you. It feels to me like not just a milestone, but a victory for all of us. On a Wednesday, Mike Hill brings you Everything Went Black, and he returns on a Thursday with one of my favorite podcasts of the week, the brilliant Necromaniacs, alongside his co-hosts Sheriff Mike Scondado and Professor Jeff Kashid. And then every Thursday and Sunday now, the Reverend Carl Haikara brings you a deep dive into the weird, arcane, and esoteric with Solnox. He and I have a date with destiny by way of a deep dive into the Nevermore discography. That's going to be coming your way in the next couple of weeks. Incidentally, when the conversation between Matt and myself kicks in just a few seconds, we're going to be midway through some Nevermore worship of our own, just in case you needed some context as to what we were talking about, and you don't feel like you're lost when we get started. And then the final podcast to mention, of course, features my good friend Cheyenne of Trivax as the host. Iblis Manifestations is the name of the show, and he is too free and unfettered to release anything against a regular schedule. But if you check out the most recent episode, which I think should have dropped by the time that this episode of Into the Necrosphere comes out, I'm actually a guest on the show, and that was of the many conversations that Cheyenne and I have recorded for podcasts, probably one of the most disconcertingly honest conversations I've ever had with somebody in my entire life. It is a must listen, so make sure that you do not miss it. And once again, thank you very much to everybody for the support and the love that you show, not only this podcast, but all of the Horsemen of the Podcasting Apocalypse, as you stand united with us in the war against mediocrity. Another little nugget to share with you. Once the initial interview sequence of Matt's visit to Into the Necrosphere is over, don't go anywhere, because he kindly stuck around for a beefy, muscular edition of the weekly news rant. This week we are rounding up the likes of Helfro, Dawn of Extinction, and others for judgment, and we're talking a whole lot of other shit. So it is a fantastic episode. It's going to be kicking off right now as I welcome to the podcast Matt Priso of SIK, Conspiracy X, and Spells of Torment. Carl and I just did our deep dive of the Nevermore back catalog. It was. I mean, I think it's a good 2 hours worth of just unadulterated Nevermore and Waraldane worship. But that CD that you just showed me now, where did you get that done?
They played here in Australia. Like, it might have been, I can't remember. It was like either early 2000s, like 2001 or 2 maybe. They played in a pub. Like, it was a pub, like a small pub, Bexley Hotel. And it was just like, what the fuck? And, you know, I think at that time that, you know, they were big, but they weren't like how they became later on. But it was like, I remember that because I'm a big Sanctuary fan. So one of my favorite songs is White Rabbit. And yeah, man, like Sanctuary was like the shit. That was like awesome. So when Nevermore started, that was, we were like the day it released and came like in the record store here, we all bought a copy and we're just fucking blown away. It was like this next for Warrell Dane, it was like the next era had just started.
Yeah.
It was fucking phenomenal.
He's such a great guy. I interviewed him twice for Chronicles of Chaos, and I talked about this on the episode I did with Cole for Soul Knox. He is he's just such a sincere, friendly, sweet guy. And the thing that amazed me most about him is that he has never had a vocal, or he had never had a vocal lesson in his life. His vocal style was entirely self-taught. It was basically just, through trial and error and practice. And you listen to some of the stuff that he did later on. You mentioned Sanctuary. I think especially, like, my favorite vocal performance of his is actually on The Year the Sun Died. And you listen to songs like I Am Low and The Dying Age. It is astounding. Like, anyone who's ever attempted to sing, when you hear him do those songs, he is approaching the levels of the very, very best of the best. Like I would go, I'm loath to throw people into anywhere near Mark Lanigan's orbit just willy-nilly. Yeah, but for Warrell Dane, I would make an exception.
No, well, that was the great thing about him, because he wasn't about anyone else except for himself, like pushing himself, pushing those limits and seeing how far, especially when you're not trained, to see how far you can actually push your own limits. I do the same. It's just, the gratification in that and the understanding of, like, fuck, I just did that. I can't believe it. And then to go even further is just, phenomenal. The guy was just fucking, a legend of, this era.
No, very, very, very sad when he passed away. And he was one of the few people that I genuinely felt sad about, like famous people when they
absolutely, like you said, because he's such a nice guy. Like, he's just a gentleman.
Yeah. Yeah, the thing is, a lot of other people, they pass away, and it's like, look, I'm sad they've left, in the sense that I'm sad I'm going to be robbed of their, hearing any more music that they do, and I'm sad for the folks that they leave behind. But it's I don't know them personally, so it doesn't really impact me personally to the degree that it does others. But yeah, with him it was a bit different. I was generally morose.
When you're touched by their music. Yeah, when you're touched by the music, you're touched by his, vocal ability, like just everything about him, and not knowing him. It's like losing. It really is like losing a brother. It's like, it's like, what do I do now?
And I know that Sanctuary is actually carrying on. They've got a guy named Joseph Michael doing their vocals, but I must be perfectly honest with you. I've never listened to anything with him. I know they haven't recorded anything with him on.
Yeah, I haven't either.
That's not a job that I would want for, even, no matter how good my vocal ability was. It's like if let's take even a non-metal vocalist. It's like if Josh Homme decided, look, you can take the Queens of the Stone Age name. I mean, I know it's his band, so you can take the Queens of the Stone Age name. I'm fucking off. You're just not stepping into those shoes. There's some vocalists you can replace. There's some vocalists don't even bother. It's like if the Bad Seeds decided to continue as the Bad Seeds, and they said, we can get somebody else. We don't need Nick Cave anymore. I mean, that's not happening.
You can't. It's you wouldn't, as a band, you surely would know and understand that it's not going to be the same. It's not going to be received very well. And for being the guy who's just jumped in to that position, the pressure and people already make up. It's just human, that's what we do. We always make our judgment already. It's like automatically, it's not going to be the same. It's not going to be, so automatically you're on the back foot. There are some bands that have done it and you just go, yep, it's working, but it's like a big task, and you have to really come out with, fucking all guns blazing, to show that you can, fill those shoes and do somewhat of the previous has done.
Yeah. So when right before we started recording, I made a joke and I said, "Good morning, young man," and you made a comment back that made me think, how old are you actually, if you don't mind me asking?
46.
46. Oh wow. Okay, so 3 years older than me. You look quite young though, as well. Though.
Yeah,
you don't look like you're over the hill.
Yeah, it's the Romanian blood, we bathe in blood, it's just, no, I don't know. Always had a baby face, always thought, I was still getting asked for ID for alcohol when I was 30.
Yeah.
It was just, I don't know. I'm just, it's one of those things in DNA. I don't know. I just take it, and I don't feel it. I definitely don't feel like I'm 46. When I get up for work in the morning, I fucking do.
Do you feel age physically catching up to you? Like physically, not.
Yeah.
You mentioned waking up in the mornings. I'm not at the point where I don't know whether I'm at a place where I don't want to admit it to myself yet, or whether I
ignore it.
Whether I genuinely am. I genuinely don't feel it. Like I still go to the gym. I mean, I can still lift heavier than most of the people in the gym. I have moved more towards Phil Heath's style of training. So, Phil Heath, multi-time Mr. Olympia, he has this view of, using light weights, but really like making sure that every single repetition is absolutely textbook. It's like, and that you're holding it in place for a period of time. And I was skeptical about it at first. And when I started doing it, it was like, Jesus, this is fucking incredible. Like I feel better when I leave the gym as far as like the amount of pump that I got. I'm seeing better results, but I mean, I'm not lifting nearly as heavy weights as I used to. So, but I mean, I can still lift heavy if I want. I don't feel like physically quite at a point where I'm willing to admit it to myself. But like I said, in the back of my mind, it's also niggling. It's like, why am I feeling that crick in my knee? Or, why is my back hurting for a little longer after deadlift day than it typically would do?
100%. Like I've got ways to train very heavy, and like I was, obsessed with, bodybuilding back in the day, and I was, like 19-inch arms and never used steroids. It was just full. I was addicted. It was just metal and lifting weights. And then, unfortunately, I got 2 degenerated discs in my back and one in my neck.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So, and that was like from that day forward. And it came to a point where I could hardly walk. It was like struggling. And the job I had was very physical. As at the time was doing office work, office fit outs and kitchens, and doing all machine work on CNCs and stuff. And man, some days, I thought this is it. Like I can't do anything ever again. So that's when I changed. It took me a few years, and I started just doing calisthenics. So it's just all body weight stuff and just doing, and that works. And I've just been doing that sort of ever since. Last maybe year, 2 years, I've cut back a lot. But my work at the power station is like physical. So it's like some days I'll be walking up, it feels like 10,000 stairs, just up and down, lifting big things, pushing big things. So that keeps me fit.
Dude, I can only imagine that. Again, that's the thing that's funny. Like, as I've moved out to the countryside now, I actually ended up I've wound up walking around less, because if I want to go anywhere, I have to drive. The closest village to us is about 2.5, 3 miles away. So I'm walking less. So I actually find when I want to cut down on my weight, it's actually a little bit harder, because I don't have that built-in 30, 40, 50 minutes walking that I would typically have had when I lived in London. And just that medium paced walking, kind of, very, very light exercise. It's astounding what that does for you from a weight loss perspective. You can go to the gym and you can blast it every single day as much as you want. But if you're not getting in your walks and things like that, it's forget about stripping down weight. You just have to do it.
As you know, it's like a whole combination thing. So, how much energy and how much food do you need to consume for what you're going to do? That excess food, or, like that's another thing that I changed, was only eat what I need, as opposed to before when I was like fully into it. I just eat so much shit, like just try and get as big as I can and not even think about it. And then I was like, I don't know, if I was watching something and I was observing the Asian diet and how long they live for. And even going back to, like, I was, when you look at World War I, and there's a lot of survivors, and they're made it into their 90s and some over 100. And you think back to them, they went through like literally famine, they could hardly feed themselves. They just had a loaf of bread for the whole family and stuff. But internally, the amount of strain we put, and we live in a society that we just overeat, we overconsume. Like we look for the biggest, the restaurant that serves the biggest. We go, all got to go there because they just serve fucking huge meals, and we all love it. But is it really what our bodies can do internally? So the aging process happens from the inside out.
Yeah.
So if your heart's under pressure and it's fucking, you don't see it all because it's all internal, and that's probably why the mornings when you wake up and you feel lethargic and stuff, you're just overeaten. That energy hasn't been depleted; it's been stagnant. It's turning into fat, whatever, and that's when you start feeling shit, and then you get into that fucking cycle, and that's when you see obese people, and they get their sugar hit, and it continues. It's a bad.
Well, they get to that point where their insulin sensitivity is now so adverse as far as the impact that it has on being able to metabolize food or metabolize energy, that it becomes that much harder for them to lose weight.
Yeah, exactly.
Diabetic, etc. What originally got you into bodybuilding, and at what age did you start?
Oh, look, from early on, I've always been the smallest guy. I've just all through school, you look at the school photos, always been so small, always picked on. That saying, that whole, cycle you always hear about, the small kid gets picked on, you sort of deal with it. It wasn't until probably maybe I was 20, and I had my best mate, he was a powerlifter, and I don't know, I just started going to the gym with him, but I couldn't afford all, because, he just was working at this local supermarket. Couldn't afford all the protein powders and all that. So I just started drinking milk and I used to drink 3 liters a day just to get the calories, because I would just be burning so much. And I just started from there, just started lifting. And then I just started obsessing, watching, Mr. Olympias. I got them on DVD and getting, inspiration, because I just trained on my own at home. I had a shitload of weight, just free weight. And I just wanted to get big, and I started getting bigger. Then people started noticing, and then people started going, "Oh, you must be on steroids." And we're like, "Fuck!" I fucking hate needles, it's me. This is what I do, and it was just a challenge for myself. So, and then next thing you know, because I was at 23, I was 63 kilos. I was only a little lightweight, and then the next thing you know, after 2 years, I was up to 83. But because I'm a shorter guy, I started looking really too stocky, and I didn't like it. And, so I sort of cut it back, and now I'm just at a nice weight. So
what was the most you ever weighed?
Oh, I was only 82, 83, but I'm only 5'8", 5'9". But it started getting chunky, and I didn't want to get a chunky ass, and I don't know. I just went, do I want this look? I'm never going to be doing shows and stuff.
You've seen enough of the Springbok rugby team to know, unfortunately, that chunky look is built into every South African man. I say this, I say this from a place of love, but also kind of self-reference and probably a bit of self-mockery as well. But Eddie Murphy, Delirious, and Eddie Murphy Raw. There was this one joke that he makes about white men and white men's asses, and he walks away like he's a white man. Yeah, and I've always thought to myself, there's this thing that my granddad told me years ago when he was still alive. He was talking about how in South Africa, like he said, I can't understand why. I said I think that he said that it was effectively something to the extent of, if most of the white South African men knew, how many of their ancestors were African or, African natives, it would absolutely blow their mind. And you look at the way that we're built, just mostly people in South Africa, whether you're white or black, we kind of have a similar build, which plays into what he was saying. I definitely have a black man's posture. There's no two ways about it.
Hey, you gotta embrace it. I used to get have a bit of a bubble butt. That's what I call it.
Yeah, I definitely have that, and I got the thick legs as well, and I've always had it. when I was at school, I mean, I literally had to wear like, school trousers that were like 2 sizes bigger for me, even though I was fucking thin. Like if you see photos of me, like my ribs are protruding, but I've got these like chunky ass legs, like Islander legs. I watched Tonga, South Africa the other day as well. I mean, those are some big lads too. There was a prop in the Tonga team that was 151 kilos.
Yeah, I had. How?
It's fucking insane. How do you scrum against something like that?
How do you stop that? That is huge. That is like, I don't know how you could live like that big. And like they do it because they're used to it, but never always been like that. But yeah, for my size and my skeletal structure, it was like I was starting getting too big, and I was just like, how long can I? Because it wasn't my natural weight. That's the thing. My natural weight wasn't that. So to maintain that heavier weight, it's just eat and eat and eat. And I had to like take in so many calories. And that's why I always say to everyone, you only get as big as your wallet.
Yeah. Well, in my case, not so much. I came, when I moved to the UK, I weighed about 67 kilos. And then I dropped down to about 63 kilos because for the first 3 months of living here, I didn't have a pot to piss in. So I literally only had about 10 pounds a week for groceries, which could afford me at the time because I also lived in a share house. So I didn't want to stand, basically queuing up to be able to use the kitchen. So it could afford me 1.99p Sainsbury's meal, which is like, the most ultra processed garbage on the face of the earth.
Yeah.
A loaf of bread to last the week. And a bottle of Diet Pepsi to last the week as well. So I was probably on like sub 1,000 calories and doing a lot of walking around. So I dropped a lot of weight. Then when things started going better, I started living the good life. The Ben and Jerry's gets introduced. The Pizza Hut gets introduced. So I became a bit of a fatso.
Yeah,
I got up to about 118. And then I started going to the gym, and then I went back down to about at one point 91.
Yeah, and
then back up to about 100. I'm a little bit north of that now, so I do need to try and get it down. I mean, I can. It's a bit different now because it's not. I mean, a big chunk of it is not. I'm not a fatso anymore. But I would like to be a little leaner than I am currently. Yeah, well, actually, not a little.
You're still leaner. Yeah, that's the thing. Like you're still lifting big, and you need that. For the extra to get those extra reps out and stuff. So as you know, when you have that extra fuel.
Less so now that I'm doing the Phil Heath style stuff. So I wanted to ask you actually, just out of curiosity, who is your favorite Mr. Olympia? Who's the guy that you think is the man?
I used to love like Kevin Levrone, Sean Ray, and then I was obsessed with Jay Cutler when he just It wasn't, everyone was like Ronnie Coleman, but Jay Cutler, I don't know, it was just something about him. It was just, I just liked his physique. It was very aesthetic, but huge. But I still like those older guys, the Frank Zanes and stuff, like, the old school. They just had that real pleasing, athletic, bodies. That's probably more common today. Like, he's pretty much got the everyday body of today in the gym. But back then it was, very, aesthetically pleasing. But,
I'd say though, I mean, Jay Cutler makes those old classic He-Man toys look positively effeminate. Like if you look at him on stage, I mean, the guy's traps, he's dealt just, it's astounding.
The back, it was just like, fuck, who is this guy? And then the Phil Heath came onto the scene, and now I don't follow it anymore, but sometimes I'll sit on some feeds on YouTube and stuff and just go, fuck, now it's just like a next level fucking monstrosity, like God is just, I don't know, I know Mr. Olympia, the IFBB is just, all in and anything goes, but where the fuck does it end? It's just some of these guys are just ridiculous. Like, I don't know how they would live even 10 years, the amount of shit they're going to put in their body. So,
yeah, and the thing about it is, it's like the guys that are doing a lot of that sort of thing, when it catches up to them, it's funny to see how they respond. Like, did you see Cali Muscle getting he had a heart attack, and he tried to palm it off on protein powder and creatine and eating meat, and I was like, dude, you're really trying to tell us that at the age of 48 you look the way that you look, that vascular and that big, because you're eating meat and you're taking protein powder. Don't let's not bullshit around now.
That's
At
right.
least,
stupid.
exactly. Well, at least Larry Wheels came out and said, "Hey, I've been taking steroids since the age of 19. I've enjoyed it."
Arnie came out. Arnie even said it. Like,
yeah,
I can't go that extra fucking 10% without it.
yeah. Phil Heath has been pretty open about it as well. He's never, he said in an interview that I saw with, I think it was Chris Williamson, I think is the podcaster's name.
Yeah.
He said he took less than a lot of other people took, but I mean, he says it's like you're going to compete in the sport if you don't.
Well, that's the thing. Like, everyone, like, we know, all our DNAs are different, and some are just gifted, and some aren't, and they need the extra. Like, it's just, understanding your body and what your body needs. And in that game, it's a fucking high risk and not much return to what you do to your body. Like, it's awesome. You can watch these guys, but when, to the core of it, what you're putting your body through, your joints, your everything, you're aging yourself, like, you just look at Ronnie Coleman these days and you just go, fuck that.
Yeah, that is frightening, mate. Like I saw, it's this guy that you remember as being this absolute Adonis of a man, and you see him go to the gym now and he has to walk with crutches.
Yeah, man, it's just it's nothing but a peanut.
Yeah. Well, which again is why I definitely embrace the Phil Heath style of training.
Yeah, you got to be
the longevity of it is going to be more significant. And again, you look at him now. I think he's about the same age as you, so he's 46. I think he's 46.
Yeah,
and he's absolutely fine. Like, still looks super healthy. Never had never had major injuries. I speak under correction on that one, but I don't think he's had any particularly huge.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, he's sort of like, he's kind of the understudy of Jay Cutler. Like, he took all the, listened to Jay, asked him for advice, and took that same game plan. It's like Jay's more of a businessman. Like, he had other things going on. So you got to think longevity. How long do you want to be on this planet? And it's just really up to the individual.
I did speak under correction, by the way. He had a double hernia that basically stopped him from carrying on with bodybuilding. So he was planning to try and achieve 10 Mr. Olympias, but he had to stop short because of the double hernia. Let me ask you though, when did the issues with your back begin?
It would be maybe mid 2000, like 2005 or something like that. Yeah, maybe probably later. And probably coming to the end of like 2010, maybe up towards there, possibly. Yeah, and that was just half would have been from work, lifting big, heavy bits of timber, 2100 long, 900 wide, 25 mil thick chipboard. I'm just like picking it up and laying it on the CNC and shit like that. And I wanted to do it because I just wanted to lift big all fucking day. And then I think I was,
yeah.
And then so doing that for years. So you can imagine this motion, like all day fucking long. And then I think it was just one day I was doing seated military presses, and I had maybe 34, 35 kilos in each arm. So probably 70 kilos all up. And that went all right. And it wasn't until I stood up and then I just felt this tinge. And I went, fuck, what was that? And kind of hurt. And then I went to hang a piss and I went to just flush the toilet. So that movement with my arm just to push the button, that was it. And fuck, I was wrecked. And then the next day, my boss had this, like, I don't know, this gym in the back of like the workshop in his garage. And he had one of those fucking devices that puts you upside down, hangs you upside down. So it stretches you out. He goes, I'll try this. And that was probably the worst thing that I've ever fucking felt in my life. But I've had incidents where I've been at home and I couldn't walk. I've had to ring the ambo. I've been laying in the middle of my lounge room.
Jesus.
And can't walk. And then I've had to crawl to the front door to let the ambos in. And then they've had this like Jack's morphine to get me to stand up and get into an ambo and stuff like that. So, and that was only like maybe, geez, that was, only recently, like a couple of years ago.
Mm.
So, yeah, I am working with mining equipment. So at the time, just for, 12 years. So after I did, kitchens and stuff, I was, becoming a fitter. So working with underground mining stuff is all big. It's just fucking every day, just fucking shit.
Mm-hmm.
So, but now it's manual handling is a lot less. So for the past year, I haven't had one issue. So, it's just about.
I was about to say, what do you do for pain management and things like that?
Well, at once when it was really bad, like it was like the typical just pump every day in the morning, 2 padding forts, codeine, and was like, but you had the reverse, you had some relief from that, and then codeine would just constipate you, so you get blocked up, so put more pressure on your spine because you can't shit, and then you're back to square one. So it was, that. So and then I went back to the doctor and I've had scans and stuff, and now I take stuff called pregabalin, which is pretty hectic, but it's like a nerve blocker.
Mm.
So, but I only take that because people get addicted to it and shit. But I only take that if my back is bad. So, that may happen once a month. I might have it at a night before I go to bed if my back's playing up. But like I said, the last year I've just been really cautious and, posture's right, walking's right, stepping up, lifting is all just spot on. Like I make sure everything that I do is,
You lift like a bag of groceries and you go into like the start position for a day.
Yeah. But you have to, because I'm just trained now, so I don't even think about it. It just happens. So it's all just, you got to understand your body, and I don't want to have those moments where I can't walk. It's embarrassing. Like Kel has seen me in my worst state where I'm just like, I'm holding onto walls, walking like an old man, and I can't do a thing about it. And it's embarrassing. 1 minute you're fit and you're walking around, I can lift big and I can do, whatever I can do. And then in a second, I'm walking around like an 80-year-old. And that's when you go, fuck, that's when you do feel old. I think, this is it. This is my life. And it's pretty depressing. I went through a part of depression with it because I thought, that's it. My life's fucked. What can I do? So, but, you just got to get over it. You got to think positive, and there's things to, to mitigate pain and avoid those situations. So,
And I mean, would you be in a position where they can operate on it and where they can kind of get you into into a place where you'll have more sustainable relief rather than having to take,
which is fusion. So, and I don't want to do that because it's like a 50% sort of, recovery. So it can be come out of it and you're fine and you feel great. You still have limited movement on any case, or you can come out and you're just going to be sore every day. Even though it's fused, it's too much of a gamble at this point in time. So that's why I've gone for the the healthy mental, understand your body and know what your body can do. I can't go in the gym and go and things I want to do is lift big and do all the things I used to do. It's just I can't.
125 kilo squats and
exactly right. And it's not possible. So you just like I said, just try and keep yourself fit, eat health, eat well. That's what I mean. I just eat what I need. Because I'm not. Even though I do a lot of exercise every day just for work, if I put on weight, that's the extra force in your spine that you feel. So I try and keep light, thin, and I have less issues. As soon as I put on weight, I know I can start feeling it. This is like this.
Yeah.
Because you put more weight on your stomach, so your spine starts curving because it's more weight in the front. So it's all this, understanding your body is it's a long process. Even though you know your body, you see your body every day, but to know exactly what triggers what.
Yeah. So that was a 36-minute detour into figuring out why at the age of 46, all of a sudden there's been this groundswell of creativity coming from you. Because the last time that I had you on the podcast, obviously we were talking about Spells of Torment, but that had been, that had kind of a legacy, at least in terms of, it had been something you'd worked on before.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, all this other shit starts coming, Conspiracy X, and then, I hate to pick favorites out of them, but for me, the most fully realized work that you've produced, and really, I said to you at the time when you shared the songs with me, something that I think is genuinely, like I said, you're onto something very, very special here, and that of course is SIK.
Yeah.
So where did all of this come from? Like was it after you got Spells of Torment out of your system, was it like the floodgates had just opened?
Well, Spells of Torment, I think it's the realization that I can do something else. Because it was like the first time I've actually done everything myself. 6 months ago, just talking about shit, and I was in Hatescape as a drummer and not having any creativity and letting all that kind of recording stuff and all the mixing and all that shit to someone else, because I just turn up and play my drums and off I go. But then to do Spells of Torment, and to have to do everything myself, but also being like, I could be true to like what Spells of Torment was about back then in the 90s. So I can didn't have to have the fucking supreme production and all that kind of stuff, but it gave me the foundation to go, righto, like, what did I do? How can I better, with mixing, mastering, and all that kind of stuff, I know I can do a better job. So then I was like, well, now I can do something that's always been there and always wish I could do. Just really pushy elements, and that style of black metal, SIK is like, that's the complete, like, natural. It's just me, It's everything that I want in an album. I want the cinematics, I want the aggression, I want the cool riffs, I want all that kind of stuff. So I was just like, I remember Kel and I were having coffee, we're having breakfast, and I remember Robin Stone, I see one of his posts and he was like, if there's, he's doing some session drumming and, if someone wants to do an EP over Chrissy, just DM him. So I went, fuck it, I'm just going to DM and see how much, it costs and per track and all that kind of stuff. And he told me, and I said, right, and I want can you do 7 tracks? I'm not going to give you any music. I just want you to do 7 tracks, and this is the style I want you to do it in. And so, he punched it out in no time at all, and that was it. So I started in reverse. Usually a band will have riffs and then send it to, the bass player, then the drummer, and so forth.
Yeah.
This time I was like, righto, give myself someone else's creativity. I've given the direction that I want, and I know what he's capable of doing, and he's first class. So, and
I was just about to say, I mean, he is like tier 1. I can't remember whether it was Tim or Kane of the Amenta that told me the story about Dave not being able to travel out of Tasmania when they were doing one of their first shows after lockdown.
Yep.
Robin stepped in and he learned all of those songs in the space of, I again, I speak under correction, but I think it was something like 72 hours. Yeah. And I mean, anyone who's listened to the Amenta understands that that is not exactly the most. We're not talking REM here.
I'm pretty sure everyone else would say get fucked.
100%. It's like it's some of the most obscene drumming ever. Like the first ever Amenta interview I did, was for Chronicles of Chaos, and I spoke to Eric, and I said to Eric, like, it sounds like you guys are using a drum machine, and he just laughed. And he's like, I can assure you we're not. And obviously he was referring to Dave, but I mean, from album one, their drumming has been on a fucking different planet. So for someone to step in and master that in 72 hours to a point where you can go and perform live with a band, it's inhuman to me. I mean, genuinely, I think it's it's one of the unsung, like, feats of human capability that just I'm staggered by it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I still am staggered that I've got he's playing on SIK as well. Like, it's just that caliber. And then having something like that just really pushed me. I was like, fuck, I can't have these fucking awesome drum tracks and just put out shit. I knew I wouldn't, because I'm a perfectionist, and if it's shit, I won't do it. I know what shit is, and I don't want to be there. I don't want to be recognized as, oh, that was good, but that's just rubbish. Like, this was like all out. Like, I would push myself. This was like 7 months of absolute fucking mental torture on myself. Like, it was scrutinizing every fucking day, listening to every track at least fucking 200 times and scrutinize the shit out of it, go back to fucking mixing, blah. And, so yeah, having that blueprint, as in the drums there, and to be able and have to push myself was fucking awesome. It was like, fuck.
Well, it's pretty unique what you just described now about, basically getting the drum tracks and then, going and almost filling in with the music. Yeah. I don't think I've ever heard of a band that's done that.
No, it's pretty funny when I do tell people, they go, "What?
Yeah.
Why'd you do that?" And it's like, well, that's I know, I wanted to challenge myself. Like, that's how it is. I don't know. It just worked out perfectly. I edited the drums somewhat in most tracks. And some of them I kept all from start to finish, but like the rest of them were edited to suit those cinematic, inlays with the soundscapes and stuff like that, to make because the whole thing is a concept. It's a story. So I wanted to be like a TV series as such. So every song was an episode. That's how I wanted to be, hence why, at the end, fucking, I got Jason to do the vocals, as Belial, it's not me. Just those.
Well, I was going to ask you, how did you hook up with Jason Pepiat?
Because of you.
Oh, really?
The first time, because you surprised me, because I wasn't expecting you to, because you played SIK on that episode, and then he just messaged, because we follow each other because of art. On the art side of things, then he just messaged and said, fuck, that track is fucking next to the unreal, it's next level. And I was like, well, if you fucking like it so much, do you want to do guest vocals, mate? And he's like, yep, fuck off. So
that is a fucking awesome story, for one. It's made me very happy to hear that. But yeah, he's again a top-notch guy.
Exactly.
I was so when I had him on the podcast, like, he was I don't know what I was expecting, but you never expect anything bad, obviously, when somebody comes on. But he was very different to what I expected. And he is I like Psychroptic's music very much. But he is, he's black metal to the core, that dude. As much as he's in a band that is not a black metal band by any stretch.
Yeah.
He keeps the cult alive in his own spirit. That guy.
Exactly, and exactly. He's old school too. Like, we, even though we're different parts of Australia, but we've grown up in that era. That we all know, like, there's some Australian bands back in the day that we all grew up with, and we all went and watched as we all, growing up as, 16, 18 years old. So I think having someone like that who understands as well, it's not just, black metal is not just a phase or a gimmick, or, the bandwagon. It's something that's, that we all feel fucking pretty deep about. So having, something like that, and then, having someone like, Tim do sampling, that's another, huge.
I was about to say another elite of the elite.
Exactly. And then like got this cello player from Melbourne. I did her cover art for her album like the year before, and it was just a bartering thing. I said, "Can you do some cello for me?" Like, And then I want real as real instruments as I can. I don't want keyboard stuff. None of the stuff that was like put on the album I never did any keyboard on it. Like all the sound effects and all the shit that I've done. Like I did stuff at work. There's like massive, huge fuel silos, and we clean them out. They get, tested and stuff. So when they're empty, they hold some like fucking, I don't even know, like 100,000 fucking liters. They're fucking huge. But it's all empty. And I was there, we had to put the door back on and I just tapped on it and the sound was like fucking amazing. So I said to my mate, Craig, I said, righto, I'm putting my phone in there and I need you to tap and I'm going to record it. And that was like on the arrival. You hear at the start.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah, sounds like rocks falling but that's fucking these huge silos at work. And then the chants in the summoning is like, fuck, I've got like a stubby cooler full of coins and I'm shaking it and I've got fucking me drumsticks, I'm tapping and I just meshed it all together to make it sound like this ancient ritual, and then do clean vocals like, hymns and stuff. Like it was heap fun. I could just go and just be me without having to ask someone else, oh, what do you think of that?
Yeah.
It was just like, fuck, I'm just going to push the boundaries here. I'm just going to do everything that I can without asking someone or fucking playing keyboards. I just want it to be, everything as raw as possible, but have this fucking, have the feeling, the emotion of the whole album to come out. Like from start to finish, like you can actually feel it.
Absolutely. And the thing about it's the end result, as much as it, was subject to your scrutiny and, going over it again and again, it's a very confident sounding record, which is, again, something I think is great. I also think it must certainly have been a shot in the arm for you to see the response to it because, certainly like within the Legion, the response to the album, when I played those songs, people just absolutely loved it and they loved the record. And I think for a lot of the folks that are, particularly in the inner circle of this podcast and within the Horsemen, I mean, it's going to be a record that is almost definitely going to be on everybody's favorite albums of the year.
Yeah, well, that's huge, man. It makes me like, not that I crack up, but I just like, I go, like, I still can't believe it because I never thought I'd make an album that good. Like, I'm more impressed with myself that I've actually pushed those boundaries, and that's the end result. And now I'm scared that I can't emulate it. That's the biggest fear now. Is like, fuck, I've just put why'd I make it so fucking good? Because now I can't. Like, now I've got to try and topple that. But it's not about that. I know that the next SIK album will be. I'll have another topic, and that's what it's going to be about. I know I'll push the boundaries to make it as storytelling as I can as well. But I like the brutality and the emotiveness of it. Like, my sister listened to it. She goes, I love it, but it just makes me really uneasy in a really good way. So
some of my favorite albums do that. I've referenced it many, many times.
Yeah.
Auto at KO by Mayhem. That's another great example. Blut Aus Nord, great example. Many of their best records are like that.
Absolutely.
And there's definitely that degree of unease here, but I think what you've done very well is you've tempered it extremely well with some of the other elements that you mentioned. Like, there is genuine old school brutality. There's like properly groovy bits on here, which obviously I love. And it was, again, as you send me those tracks, as my feedback to you as well, it's like when that track hits, that sort of mid-tempo roll, it just sounds so fucking badass and mean because like, you can have evil, but if you've got the badassness and the meanness, that real like testosterone, caveman knuckle dragging metal, it's pure magic. And then the cinematic elements I love as well. And something you mentioned that I think is interesting, and it does speak a lot to your approach and maybe why this record was as good as it is like that self-awareness to be able to tell yourself something sucks. I come from a country where, sadly, if you look at the vast majority of bands that come out of South Africa, that ability doesn't exist. We do a lot of things very well, but what we don't do particularly well, there's some decent bands, but for the most part, they're almost all terrible. And a lot of bands that get sent to me, you'll listen to the music and you go, I can hear the sincerity in what you did here. I can hear like I can hear what you were going for, but I don't understand why nobody ever just took a step back and went, XYZ riff is not up to par, or these vocal lines, or this is not up to par, or those drums suck.
Yeah, 100%. And like, I don't want to be critical of bands all the time, but some things I just go to Kello's, like, I listen to it, I go, who listened to this? When did I listen back to it and go, like, that's a good mix? Like, I don't know. Like, I want to hear everything. And I hear bands where they just do fucking vocals are so loud and you just go, you can't even hear what riffs they're playing. And you know they're good riffs. And I feel sorry for the guitarist. But, yeah, I don't know. But that's why I wanted to make it so you could hear everything. And if it is shit, fucking take it out. There's heaps of stuff that I've got that I just took out. I was like, nah, doesn't blend well. But I will tell you, most of these tracks, and it's as well as Spells of Torment as well, where like I do a track a night. I'll do that one track, guitar track, all in that one night, and it's all improvised. Like it's just whatever comes out. That's what it is. And then I spend fucking the next 2 months mixing and fucking dicking around with it. And I wait for the right day I can do vocals because, you know, today's I don't feel like it. And I'll just wait till that day comes and then boom, it happens. I come home from work. I've been singing to myself at work and, you know, and I come home and I just go bang, punch it out, first take, done.
You've got a very unique vocal take as well. Like you've got kind of, there's like an old school element to it, but it's quite unique. It's like, it's not often that you listen to black metal vocalists and you can say, I can pick that person out of a lineup. Yeah. But with you, I would absolutely be able to do that.
Oh, that's what, and I'm stoked that I can do that because I'd rather stand out. I'd rather someone go, that's Matt Priso. That's his vocals. But, you know, because I want to have that array. I suppose it's because we just, you know, when we spoke about Nevermore, Warrell Dane, like he had such an array, a range of voice that he could just fucking pull off anything. Like I've always appreciated different ranges. It tells a story. Like this is a concept album, so I've got to have these moments where it's like, you know, just fucking yell it out. Like it doesn't have to be all, you know. That's so many albums that can start from finish. Like the vocals, most of the time, I just fucking totally the vocals. I don't even hear them anymore. I'm listening to the music because it's just I know it's the same. It's the same pattern. But when you're telling a story, tell the fucking story. You know, if there's those heightened moments, fucking raise the bar. Don't be scared. Fucking, even if it sounds different than your normal, it's when you listen back to it and you go, fuck, that's unbelievable. Put it, you know, if you want.
Well, it's there's actually a science to it. It's called a pattern interrupt. So it's if your brain gets used to a certain pattern, your brain starts to switch off because it's like, you know, it anticipates that same pattern is going to come again. So when you throw in even like a well-timed voice noise, like our mutual friend Drugoth, you know, he's done that, I think, exceptionally well on this new Drugoth record. Definitely. You know, just throwing you like, you know, something like that. It just immediately your brain goes, what's going on? Yeah, and it's like
that's exactly
you're re-engaged.
Right. Yeah, it's like the comma in a sentence. You know,
yes,
you've said something and then it's bang, and then we can, you know, something else is after continuation of, you know, a phrase or a musical part, and like those, you know, in Spells of Torment, it's like usually that's the riff change. You know, it's like that's the full stop, and let's fucking go again. You know, it's you've got to utilize even in music these different parts. You just that's what I don't like in music. I like the creativity. I like, you know, listen to people really push those little elements. They're not huge ones, but just, you know, if you've listened to a band from the start, and it's really good to watch bands who do understand it and progress, and they get to album 3 and you go, they've nailed it. You know, they've understood it. They've listened to themselves and gone, fuck, let's try and do that. And, you know, so, you know, to try and, you know, I think being older, as well. It gives you that sort of insight. Listen to a shitload of bands over the years, you sort of know within yourself what's good and what's not. And then you try and put out something that you personally would listen to. So,
well, I do have the theory that especially for bands that are a little older, whether, it's older in calendar years or older just as bands, like they've been around longer. My observation has been, particularly since I've started doing this podcast, because it's something that's fascinated me because I'm growing older. So I'm curious to know how certain bands have the longevity that they have, or certain musicians have the longevity they have.
Yeah.
The conclusion I've reached is that the way that happens is if you are genuinely in love with music, as a whole, like not a specific genre, not your worn out copy of Seven Churches. You love music and you have an appetite for enjoying and absorbing new music, regardless of where that comes from. So Shane Embry is a fantastic example. I keep using him on the podcast. That guy is a fan of anything and everything. But he really, like, he's obviously partial to Killing Joke and Swans and bands like that, but he still listens to and likes new music. He still goes out, tries to discover new music. And I think in a way, that's what helps Napalm Death, or any of the other many projects that he works on continue to sound so fresh.
Yeah, and it's the same, man. Like I've listened to, metal's not the only thing. It's like I listen to cyberpunk, some trance, Massive Attack, Prodigy, you name it. I've fucking listened to fucking everything over the years, like you can't be that narrow-minded. Like we love our metal and you can say you're a metalhead and you don't, not anyone can say that I don't like anything else. I grew up with fucking Roxette and I fucking love Roxette because it's those memories in excess. I fucking love it. Yeah. The first tape I bought was...
I remember Roxette.
Yeah, exactly. But and who doesn't know all the fucking lyrics when it comes on? But that's appreciation of music. Like that's even those old artists and listen to that genre, or it doesn't matter whatever genre, the melodies are all are so similar. Like it's music.
Well, I'll admit to something completely shameful. I've said on this podcast before, I don't have any guilty pleasures, but there's one that I would say verges on being a guilty pleasure.
And that was one of my questions to you. What is your guilty pleasure?
That's the thing. I don't really feel guilty about anything that I listen to. The only thing I do feel guilty about slightly is this next song that I'm going to say, and I like it because my daughter is such a fan of it, and she keeps insisting on me playing it. And she's actually... What's great about her is she started to, even though she's only 9, she started to get into like the audiophile hi-fi thing now as well. She went to the Ascot Hi-Fi show with me. We were sitting in each room. She had her little laptop out and she's like doing a PowerPoint where she's rating each of the setups, like taking a photos, like 8 out of 10 sounds great.
Yeah.
But the songs she loves, and so I think I've made that connection. You're gonna hit end on the call as soon as I say this.
No, I'm not.
Can't Feel My Face by The Weeknd.
You know what? It's not that bad.
You know what? It's like I fucking despise pop music, generally modern pop music. I hate so much, not just because it's vacuous, but because it's garbage.
Yeah,
I don't mind. I mean, there's a lot of music I listen to that's vacuous, but it's garbage. Yeah. For whatever reason, there's just something about that song that is so fucking catchy.
Yeah, but
I just think it's like very simplistic writing. It's obviously 910 people producing and writing it. But it's a good song,
mate. I know the song. Like that's the thing. Like my son is like 15 and he just listens to rap. So when I'm in the car, I'm listening to A$AP Ferg, and I'm singing along as well. It's like, I'm a big Ice Cube fan as well. Like growing up, I was into NWA and fucking Public Enemy.
I'm still into all of that. I was about to say,
exactly.
if your son's into rap, I hope you've started to give him a bit of an education on the good stuff. Because I'll tell you something, the oldest I've ever felt, years ago in my job, this is when I say years, it's probably about 8 years ago now. I was at a Christmas party and I'm talking to some of the graduates that, so I work in talent acquisition, so I lead teams and stuff like that. So anyway, we obviously have every single year, there's like a school of graduates that gets hired. And I'm talking to some of the new grads. And it's general bullshitting. They ask me like, what kind of, I ask them what kind of music you listen to. They say, oh, we listen to old school rap. I'm like, when you say old school rap, what are you talking about? Oh, stuff like Jay-Z and things like that. I said, okay, well, I'm talking like actual old school rap. So like, do you listen to NWA, Cypress Hill, Public Enemy, the DOC, and they literally looked at me like I was speaking a different language. They're like, we've never heard of any of those bands. I'm like, you've never heard of NWA? What the fuck is wrong with you? Like, I wasn't around for the Rolling Stones, but I know the Rolling Stones' as music.
Turn around and fuck off then.
Yeah, 100%. But I'll tell you something right now. When it comes to hip hop, I personally think one of the greatest. I need to just find the actual record. I know the song because I listen to it very, very frequently.
Yep.
Eric B. and Rakim. What is the song that? Yeah, the album is called Follow the Leader. It came out in 1988. There's a song on there called No Competition. If anyone, like any young blood, wants to hear what fucking proper rap music sounds like, that's the song. This is like from the days where, a lot of those old rappers, especially in the golden age of rap, basically all of the lyrics were how good I am at rapping. So I'm great at rapping your shit.
That was it. It was a competition. It really was a serious competition in the most, a good way, pushing each other to the limits. And, then you start getting the Busta Rhymes and stuff like that, like just fucking the next level of rapping, just fuck speed, So,
the thing is that Busta Rhymes, I appreciate he's rapping, but what I would say I lack is his technique is great. The attitude is lacking to me a little bit. Like if you listen to like one of my favorite sequences is the Ice Cube sequence on Burn Hollywood Burn on Fear of a Black Planet. It's like it's not certainly not his best performance, but there's so much fucking attitude just dripping from what he's saying. Absolutely. Like Ice Cube is down with a PE. Now every motherfucker want to see me. It's genius.
So good. And that's the thing. Like it was showcase, but like I said, Busta was he was inconsistent. I wasn't a big fan of his music, but I respected how fucking quick he was. He really set the tone for the next gen of speed rapping. I don't know if they call it that or not, but that's fucking.
Well, now the problem is the vast majority of modern rappers is just a bunch of mumbling. It's just literally mumbling.
I know, exactly. No feeling, no emotion, not even talking about a real situation, just drugs and pussy.
Yeah. Well, there's been a couple of exceptions. So I'm a big fan of Death Grips. I know that's not strictly rap, but I like Death Grips, and I think if you want to see something that'll fucking blow your mind, see them live. It's one of the most intense things I've ever seen in my entire existence. They started their show just kind of tying it back to the cinematic element that you mentioned on when we were talking about SIK. They started their show with this weird sample they had on a loop for literally a fucking like 30 minutes. So lights are completely off. All you're hearing is this bizarre like drone. It's like, and it sounds like an 8-bit recording of a Formula One car. It's like blah, blah, blah. And it just repeated for about half an hour. And then all of a sudden, it's like these very minimal stage lights come on. MC Ride comes on stage. He's a fucking psycho. He's like an African-American Henry Rollins. And they went straight into a song called Beware, which is like it's got this fucking cool Charles Manson intro in the beginning. And it's just like as soon as that happened, because they have an actual drummer like drumming over the live, and he's going absolutely ballistic from every single song. Yeah, dude, it was insane. It's one of the most incredible shows I've ever seen. I actually saw them as well. I've seen them 3 times. The first time I saw them was when they just brought out their mixtape Ex-Military, and no one had ever heard of them before. I discovered them through somebody who I think they'd actually sent the mixtape to the person's record label, and the person said, we're not going to sign them, but I think you should check this out because you're going to like it. They played like some unannounced show at a warehouse in Spitalfields? Spitalfields or Old Street here in London. So there wasn't even stage lighting. There was literally like a little lamp on stage, and that's it. And
How
they
cool is
insisted that all of the other lights get turned off in the venue, and there was just you literally just saw the shadow on stage. Fucking
That's
nuts.
fucking awesome.
Nuts.
That's great. That's the moments you never forget. See?
Yeah. No, absolutely. So question for you, because I know you and Kelly go watch a lot of live bands and stuff like that. You've never thought of taking any of these projects to the stage?
If it's funny, you mentioned that because I got a message last week for Spells. I think it was someone from Gutter Prince. It wasn't Nathan. Asking if we would do a live show. It's probably a bit hard because it's only just like logistically, because Austin's in Brisbane, I'm in Sydney, like in Newcastle near Sydney. And to find the guys. And this was a problem when I tried to get Spells of Torment up and running the first time. I did have a full lineup. And that was and it was all, rehearsals, and it was all like we were going good. Like it was decent. But most of those band members were from another band. So they did and they started getting bookings for a lot of shows. They wouldn't have time for Spells. So that's when it sort of crashed, and then literally within maybe a month, I went, fuck it. I'm just going to not play drums, and I'm just going to do everything myself. And that's when I, hit up Austin. So initially it was a full band to play live. But yeah, I haven't really thought about it as such. Kel keeps saying, you should be putting this on the stage and stuff like that. But it's hard to find members to this day. And over here, it's really hard to find members to be committed, either one to the band or committed to just doing, maybe 5 shows in Sydney or wherever. For Spells is not, Spells is not huge in any sense over here. So, I mean, is there going to be a support act? Then really, it's not really worth doing. So, but it would be cool. It was SIK. SIK's just too. There's too many elements to SIK. I could program it all and play it live, and try and give that same feeling. So that's another element. Plus having Robin and all the guys together to play would be a logistical nightmare as well.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's probably unfortunate. It'd be cool to do, but I don't know. Maybe something else will pop up. I got asked today to sing in another band, a Black and Deaf band near here, which they have 3 singers, 3 vocals. I listened to it, and I was just, it's probably not my cup of tea. It's more behemoth, and it sounded all right, but it's just not my thing. If I'm singing something and I'm playing something, I've got to have that connection. I don't want to do it just because I want to play live, or it just doesn't make sense to me. I just won't have that drive like I do with other shit. If something I really like.
Yeah, you have to have a connection to it. It's equally, I think, when it comes to recreating music on stage. One thing that to me is a no-no is not having a live drummer on stage. I think as soon as the live drummer is not on stage anymore, to me it's game over.
Yeah.
I mean, no offense to bands who have no other choice. I mean, I get that good drummers are a dime a dozen, but it's just, if without it, don't bother. I don't.
One of my greatest albums is Law of Chaos, Thorns of Impurity, and Law of Chaos is reformed. And a lot of my friends played in that band back in the day, but they reformed it recently, and they supported I Am Morbid on their tour, and they had a drum machine just like the album. And I wanted to go just to see them because I heard there was going to be a live drummer, but as soon as I heard it was just going to be drum machine programmed, I was like, nah. Is this going to be?
It doesn't matter what you do. You can turn the drum machine up as loud as you want. There's something about feeling that bass drum when you're in the venue, the bass drum or the that crack of the snare. If you don't have it, it's just not the same to me.
It's like you lost 50% of your stage shows automatically.
Yes,
it just doesn't have that full effect of that live kick, that live snare, whatever, just that full, like, get up and go. You visually, probably don't notice at a gig, but you're watching the drums, and then when he starts going off, it's fucking like, we're on. Like, that's just, he's the man. He's the heartbeat.
There's a very primal connection to it as well, right? Like, I remember in the old days when, I was being inundated with videos about how evil and satanic my music is. One of the theories that they would throw around a lot was that, there was voodoo rhythms being used in metal, and that somehow, when you saw it live, hypnotized you and it turned people into,
sounds delicious.
It opened them for demonic possession. But as much as that's garbage, there is definitely something very primal about the connection between, like, live drumming and actually,
it's your natural metronome, your heartbeat.
Yeah, the level of engagement that you have when you see something. So I completely think that's one of the most critical things to have when you play live.
Yeah, and that's what I've been a drummer for so long. That's one thing I'm looking at. Mostly is like the drummer. Not so much these days, as I'm doing guitars and I find myself looking at guitarists and the vocalist and what he's doing and what they're doing. But back in the day, I was just like, I can't go to a show with no drummer. It's just
no, definitely not.
Who
is, out of interest, one of the most, or some of the most impressive drummers that you've seen play live?
Oh, man.
Because it's one thing to do your thing on an album, it's another thing to do it on stage.
This year, probably the most impressive this year, and I'm not really into them that great because it's not my style, was the drummer from Ulcerate. That was just, to watch him live, that guy is just fucking, I was like...
Well, I don't know whether you watched the episode that I did with Sam Bean, but the story behind how they play live, where it is all improvised. 100%.
That's what makes it
just play over it. It's
fucking
when I heard that, it was one of the most mind-blowing things anyone had ever shared with me as far as a band is concerned. Like, music that complex, and you're improvising your way through a show.
Yeah, it's fucking next level. It's like how like, it's just one of those amazing, like, just what a human can do. It's just fucking next level. But I don't know. There's been so many over the years, like, fucking talents everywhere. So it's hard. These days, it is hard to, like, just different styles can bring out different, methods and how they've been taught. So creativity and so forth. So it's fucking. You look at Dominator and and what he does. He's just a machine with just blast. It's just next level speed. It's just like, fucking hell, man. This dude's just fucking. The speed is on another level, but what he does is very simplistic. There's nothing fucking fancy shit. He does some fancy stuff, but it's not like I'm showing off. It's like music. So he's, but then you get some guys like the drummer from Leprous. Can't remember his name. Fucking, he's another, like, outstanding, just incredible player. So yeah, I don't know. There's too many good players out there.
I think for me nowadays, drumming has also gone down to not just necessarily the technicality. It's more about the feeling I get when I hear it. One of my favorite drum performances of the whole year was Drugoth, and it's down to simple things that he just does fucking incredibly well on that Battles May Cease but Wars Forever record.
Yeah.
That like little skank beat that he throws in at the end of the opening track, where it's like dun, 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 dun. It's just.
No,
it just,
like you said,
it enhances what you're hearing to such a point. It's like, it's one, it sounds very unique, but two, it just adds to the attitude.
Yeah, hence why I chose to do spells.
Yeah, I mean, he has a real feel when he plays, which I love. Another guy who you would have seen on that. I think that would. Yeah, it was on the was at the Ulcerate show. I mean, obviously, Dave from Werewolves is the man.
Oh, Dave,
Hellhammer is. I'm amazed by how good that guy is. Like the times that I've seen him play, but especially the last time I saw Mayhem, he's fucking phenomenal because again, he's got such a set way of playing. Like if your ear is tuned into it, like straight away that's Hellhammer playing.
Yeah, exactly right. Even his setup, it's like his kick drums are set at like 20 degrees from the back, from where his feet is out. It's angled. Like it's just no one does that. It's him. Like you never see him, but you look at the kit and you go, "That's Hellhammer. That's his setup." Like he's got a trademark setup, trademark plays. There's his little rototoms and just hear these little elements, and you do know it's just so many incredible players over the years. Pete Sandoval, like fuck, just so good, so fucking good.
He's a guy that he explores the kit when he plays in a way that nobody else can. Like he's got these like very short little fills that he does in between blasts. Like he's got a way of really kind of mixing things up. Just to such a point that is just absolutely fucking incredible. Yeah,
even me as a player, I play to riffs. I never deviated. Like I play to accentuate riffs, and that's what you want. If there's a fucking killer riff, you don't want to go and play something that's not going to enhance it. Like, some players just want to fucking, show how big their dicks are, and that's not music. Keep it simple if it needs to be simple. Don't need to be complicated. That's what Austin does. Like, don't fucking over complicate shit. Like, listen to the riffs, and get that feeling, that emotion. Like that's that will.
Well, every single thing you do has to be in service of the song. That's the most critical thing. Like it doesn't matter what it is. If it's on the record, whether it's guitar, bass, drums, vocals, it has to be in service of the song. If it's not, if you're trying to spotlight somebody, it just doesn't work in my view.
No, exactly right. No.
So let me ask you, future plans for any of these projects? Will 2024 see another SIK album? Like because you sort of hinted at already starting to work on stuff.
Well, there'll be. Like I'll do things pretty much the same way as I do this year. There'll be a spells first, so I'll probably start writing for that in probably December. So they'll most likely come out around March, April. How it comes out, I don't know. Label wise, whatever, or just be a digital thing. And then I'll do a SIK album, the back end. Straight after that finishes, I'll start the new SIK album. So, and whatever happens in between, like if there's most likely going to be more Conspiracy X stuff coming out. So that's been fun with my friend Ryan. He's a talent and a half. He's just a guy who just fucking does everything himself. He's just a fucking machine. Just does some crazy shit. He's just out there. So being involved in that also has been like good vocally. It's been great. And not have to do any of the mixing and stuff like that is fucking even better. It's like now.
Well, we hadn't even really touched on Conspiracy X, which is another really, really good project that you're doing. I mean, how did that even come about?
Yeah, well, like I've known Ryan for a while through like Newcastle, the scene and stuff. He was in a band called Whatever and stuff like that. Just fucking a talent, massive talent guitarist. And then we always talk about shit. And his partner's bought art off me and stuff like that. And then I just got a message saying, "Can you want to do some guest vocals on a track for his, for this?" And then I did it, and he goes, "Oh, so we could do more if you want. Like if you got others, because it's been fun. Because the Manson song was the first one." And then we just spoke to him and said, "Well, we might as well fucking want to start something then." And just within 20 minutes, we had a name and fucking that was it, full force. It was just like track after track. Every night, every day was a new track. He was writing, middle of the night, and then next day there's another track. So I'd just be quickly writing, lyrics, and then jumping in and fucking doing my little mix on them, and then send them back to him, and then he'd mix it in, and next thing you know, they're only short songs, but I don't know, it kind of works as well. So yeah, just put it out there and see what happens, and we fucked around with some AI stuff for the film clip, and yeah, it's been fun. It's been different. Maybe next I'll do a pop album.
Yeah, perhaps.
But,
all right, I'm going to put you on the spot slightly because we're going to listen to a song and then we're going to jump into the news rant, which you've kindly agreed to stick around for.
Yes.
Now, putting you on the spot's going to be what song would you like us to play as a segue into the news rant?
Oh shit. As in any band or just my band?
No, well, any of your music.
Any of my music. Well, I think everyone loves The Adherence, so that's probably the track. Obviously, The Adherence.
All right, here we go. You just listened to The Adherence by SIK off the fantastic new album Cast Below to Rise Above. It features this week's guest Matt Priso doing just about everything himself, barring the drums, doing a fantastic job of it too. And I will post the link to the SIK Bandcamp in the description to the show as always. So make sure that you head over there, show Matt your love and support, buy his music, and also check out his other bands, Conspiracy X and Spells of Torment. We are going to get back to our conversation in just a second. Just a quick one. There were a couple of technical gremlins that we were working our way through at the very start of the news rant. So not something you're really going to pick up if you're listening to this on Spotify or any of the audio channels. But if you are on YouTube, you might notice a bit of a deviation from my usual visual standards. That being said, if you thought that Ellen Burstyn had to sit out her daughter's exorcism in the original Exorcist movie because of the patriarchy, then it might be time for you to get to stepping, because this is Matt Priso and I delivering the weekly news rant.
Round them up for judgment. And hang them where the world can see.
You and I both come from, like, you know, weightlifting and bodybuilding and stuff like that, where actually having that external third party is critical. And I may have spoken about it before, where there was a girl that used to be a personal trainer at one of the gyms I went to in London. I remember her coming up to me and literally saying to me, when you set up for a squat, feel like, act as though, or in your mind, imagine you're screwing your ankles into the ground.
Yeah.
And as soon as she said that to me, it completely changed my squat form. I, probably went up by 50% of what I could do before. And so I've very much adopted that mindset of, like, anyone can give me a view on what, like anyone has wisdom that they can share with me. Which I have found immensely helpful. And as we're talking about, a mutual associate of ours and their record, and the fact that they had they had that kind of third party, and they're giving them that direction. I'm just wondering again whether some of that self-awareness that you've shown in creating some of your music doesn't potentially come from that mindset too. Like, I know it's probably maybe a bit of a far stretch. Yeah. But it definitely takes a certain mentality, I think, to be able to be that self-critical and go, I can learn from just about any situation or any set of circumstances. Yeah,
like, you're the same as, like, I take in everything that everyone says, and I take in, it's, you don't get smarter with being ignorant. That's why, but that's the respect I have for you. That's why I send, like, the tracks to you, because your opinion means a lot. So for me to make good music, because you would tell me if that's shit, if I'm like, because I'm listening to my shit every day, and I get lost, and I go, fuck, I just need someone with fresh ears that's going to give me a real answer, and tell me, yes or no, whatever. And that's why I send it to you, because I know that I've got the confidence that I get that from you. So, that you are my third party, say, with music.
I'll tell you if it doesn't cut the mustard.
Exactly right. Like, that's the thing. Like, I don't want to put out something that's rubbish, and you don't want to lift. Yeah. Like, go to the gym and lift like an idiot.
Yeah, yeah.
So you're getting information from someone else that's guiding you as well. So I mean, that is the third party. Like, everyone needs a third party. To better ourselves, we do need it.
I'm also going to assume Kelly keeps you pretty,
100%. Like, she's like, because I doubt everything I do, because I'm just I want the best for everything and everyone in my life. So I am very, very critical of myself, and she, she's the one that says, no, you don't understand how good you are and all that kind of stuff. And I just get all weird about it.
There's an episode of Iblis Manifestations that's going to be coming out. If it's not already out by the time this episode drops, it'll be out sooner rather than later. Cheyenne and I spoke a lot about relationships, and about, how, like, when you finally get to that point in your life when you meet the right person, especially for a man, I think the right person genuinely brings the best out of you, but they do it in a way you didn't think was possible, frankly. And I absolutely see that with you and with Kelly, which is. I
wouldn't have done all this. I wouldn't have been painting. I would have been doing music. if it wasn't for Kelly. 100%. I tell her all the time. Like I wouldn't even endeavored in it because the confidence in it was minimal, was non-existent. I wouldn't even delved into it to the extent that I've gone to now. Like without her, she's done it. She's the one who brought this beast out, and now it can't stop.
Yeah. Well, as I said, it's like the floodgates as of 2023 have opened.
Yeah.
All right, we're kicking off on Metal Storm, and the first headline that has captured my attention: Blut Aus Nord present the Nameless Rites video. It says here, Blut Aus Nord have released a Gabriel Panchi created new video clip for the song The Nameless Rites, which is part of the band's recently released album Disharmonium Nahab. Have you spent much time listening to this record?
I listened to when it first came out. I've only listened to one track, so because I've just been doing all the recording, I'll have put everything else on the side. So I don't be influenced. So I have been doing a lot of catch up from the first half of the year. So I did hear one track from that album, and it's like, I'd say this album carries on with this new style of open chord, sonatic type of playing by the guitarist, especially. But yeah, it has that atmospheric, that I don't know, just it brings you in, into some uncomfortable, compromising ways. But it's beautiful in that sense.
Yeah, I would say, I think the way I described it was like the previous record was like a nightmare about being dragged into hell. This record, you actually are in hell. It's like it's that degree of or it's that increase in atmosphere, and especially like the really darker elements of the previous record. It's very much amplified on this album, to a very really unnerving degree.
That's exactly right. I think it makes very unnerving, but in a beautiful way, if that makes sense.
So the song Nameless Rites, let's give it a quick listen, and then you can tell me what you think. And you said you got some questions for me as well, so we can get to those in due course. All right. Okay, let's jump into it. One thing I'll definitely say, and I'm reminded of it again listening to this song, they definitely are a lot better, or Blut Aus Nord, Vinceval, I should say. The thing that he nailed a lot more on this record for me versus what he had done on the previous album is the vocals. The previous album, I mean, the vocals are intentionally done in such a way that they're not really vocals. It's not lyrics. It's just a bunch of noise kind of floating around you. But it kind of seemed to fade so far into the background. Sometimes it almost became a bit of an afterthought. The record sometimes felt like a bit of an instrumental. And I actually had one person message me once on Instagram. I was like, yeah, it's a great record, but I can't believe they did an instrumental. I was like, I don't know what shit you're listening to the music on, but but again, funnily enough, I've heard that about the last Inferno record too. But that aside, with this, I think just in the mix, what they've done that's smart is they've kind of brought out those vocals a bit more. So they're still serving the exact same purpose, but they're doing it in a way that's now a lot more effective. It doesn't just sound like it was a bit of a studio fuck up.
Yeah. So was this released after the main release? This video?
Well, the song the video was released after the main release, but this is off the main release. So
I feel like this should have been released before the album, because visually, I'm all about visuals, and I love my clips, because that's what a lot of it gives you that emotion. I feel with this is very cinematic, and it's very like, this is when you really do understand. When you get these visuals, it really makes you understand this album. And where you're at, and you're going to carry that on when you do listen to the album. I think that would like really heighten this album even further than the recognition that it's getting now. But yeah, I love the film clip. It's fucking awesome.
I think you're onto something there too, because I think the first single they brought out was a song called Queen of the Queen of the Dead Dimension. And it's a good track, but it's one of those tracks where you can hear that you kind of need the context of the rest of the record to really get into it.
Yeah, that's right.
Like this seems to stand on its own a lot more.
Yeah,
and it makes more sense as just a standalone song. And as an appetizer for the album, this would personally entice me a lot more to check it out than
if I saw this first, I'd be like, fuck, this is like fucking unreal, because it's like I'm visually, and it's ingrained in my mind now. And I'm like, when I listen to the album, I'm going to be thinking about these images, and going and putting myself where this is supposed to put me.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Let's go back to it. Another thing where I think he has stepped up massively on this album is that payoff that you get. So he'll have a ton of discordant riffs and these sequences that really on the face of it make no musical sense. And then he'll hit you with his melody from out of nowhere, and like that's the payoff. And it makes it because it's a melody that breaks through, or a traditional melody breaking through the chaos, it is that much more effective. And I think on this album, he has taken that to probably 5-6 levels beyond, I think, what he's maybe ever done. He's always had a knack for it in any case, but on this album in particular, I find it much more striking than I found on the previous record.
Yeah, I feel like they've really studied the last album, and just where we can, like we said before, where we can heighten, those emotions and those feelings through those riffs and vocals combined. How can we bring it higher and, together to make that nice blend, which is essentially what's happened here. It's haunting. It's unnerving. It's like you really have to listen to this in the right frame of mind, in the right time of day, So
it's got a like an 80s sci-fi feel as well. That melody, I find it's like the first thing I thought of when that melody started in that part that we just paused on now was I thought Blade Runner. It reminded me of the bit of the Blade Runner 2049 soundtrack.
That's one of my favorites.
Absolutely superb, dude. So Blade Runner 2049. Have you heard that soundtrack on a reasonable hi-fi, on a decent setup?
Yeah, I've listened to it when I go to bed.
It is unbelievable, absolutely unbelievable.
It is. It's that movie in itself is one of the best movies I've ever watched in my life.
Yeah, I loved it as well.
It is fucking amazing.
It's fantastic. All right. Yeah. Whilst we look for the next song, you said you had a question.
Yes.
Well, I'll let you.
I'm glad you reminded me because I'm listening. I'm looking at you scrolling down. I'm going, what's next? What's next?
I'll let you ask the first of your questions.
Okay. Right. Let's go because we're heading up to the big 200.
Yeah.
So I'm going to look back at the previous guests. So who was the one guest that inspired you to research deeper on what they have told you, and you've become probably an avid believer, it is part of your everyday? It's probably a hard one,
but a very, very good question. I don't know if anyone has ever inspired me to research deeper into anything. I can say there's a lot of people that I've spoken to where I wasn't expecting to get on with them as well as I did. Like, yeah, that's kind of the magic of it, right? I don't mean it in a bad way. Like you try and kind of keep your expectations reasonably. At least for me, I try and keep my expectations like reasonably in check. I don't expect to leave every single conversation, calling the person a bro or a mate or anything like that. I think the people that I was most surprised by, and therefore probably more inclined to look into stuff that they were talking to me about.
Yeah.
Cheyenne, definitely. Cheyenne and I just hit it off like a fucking house.
Yeah, you can tell. It's good chemistry.
Nas.
Yeah.
Nas was one of those guys where I was a little nervous about speaking to him the first time because I'd heard the interview with Cheyenne. Cheyenne did such a great job of that interview that I was like, what angle do I take here? Number one. Number two, I'm not as interested in the esoteric occult stuff as as what those guys are. And I don't have the degree of knowledge about it either.
Yeah.
And I also have limited time. So even if I wanted to do follow-up research, there's only so much follow-up research I can do. But them, Alan Averill of Primordial, I definitely have had, like the second time I had him on a couple of episodes ago, like I did my homework beforehand because, I know the way he approaches his own podcast. So I was like, okay, if we're going to talk about real world stuff and stuff people are going to try and check us on, I'm definitely going to need to have my facts straight.
Yeah.
And then, and actually, I'll tell you what, now that you mention it, Sam Bean.
Yeah.
Because Sam is I think Sam and I think about things in a similar way on a lot of fronts, but we also have some differences. And what he did do that not a lot of other people have gotten me to do was to kind of go back and think to myself, okay, this is the opinion I have on this, but actually, have I considered all of the different, have I considered all the angles? So actually, as you're saying it, I think Sam Bean is probably the one that's been the most challenging in like the best possible way. And again, like when I talk about people that I not everyone is going to be a bro after they've been on the podcast, but I mean, there's certainly people I regard as friends. I regard you as a friend, Cheyenne, Matt and Sam from Werewolves, Mike from Tombs, Ralph from Ulfa. So there's people that I've met that are genuinely, I've had a conversation with them, and that we've kind of hit it off to a point where we're still in touch on a reasonably regular basis. And I certainly, if I see them face to face, I mean, it would be like catching up with a mate.
Exactly right. Yeah, it just has that instant connection. But yeah, the Sam Bean was a really good one. I enjoyed that. It was like surprising, not because I didn't know him, but just the level of knowledge that he actually had as well. It was a lot of things you had to like think back and go, fuck, I might really think about that.
He's a smart motherfucker.
He's a smart motherfucker.
There's no two ways about it. He's a very, very intelligent man, and he's sharper on quite a lot than I am. I think I'm not ashamed to say that. So,
no, you'd be prepping for the next time you interviewing.
Well, we've kind of made it a bit of a tradition. We always seem to do one earlier on in the year. And each one seems to kind of be more epic than the next. So hopefully the next one we do is around February time of next year.
Right. Over to you.
Okay. So next we've got Helfro with their new track. I'm not going to bother to pronounce this. It seems like it would read I am going to bother pronouncing it. Floreo Friday.
Floreo Friday.
It's off their new album Telegraph. I noticed from the Metal Storm description that they're describing them as a one-man black metal band, but that is not the case because they were on the podcast like way back on like episode 20-something.
Really?
Ragnar, who plays the drums, is someone that I still exchange messages with once in a while. I think these guys are great, and I fucking loved their debut record. So I was quite excited to see that they've got something new coming out, and this is again kind of that sprint to the end of the year. I was talking to, I can't remember who it was, and we were saying about, you try and put together actually it was Carl that I was talking to, and like you try and put together a best of 2023, and you absolutely have to wait until December 31st because you never know about all the surprises that are going to drop. Last year, obviously, we had Mysteriuming. The year before, we had Funeral Mist. There are bangers that are going to drop in December without a shadow of a doubt.
It's fucked. This year's fucked with how good it is.
Yeah, no,
I wish I put out SIK last year.
it's anything you're doing this year is going out into heavy traffic. There's no two ways about it.
It's fucking peak hour. That's what it is.
Yeah. All right, let's give this a quick spin. I don't know whether you were a pro wrestling fan when you were younger, but Jim Ross used to have this thing he would say, like the commentator Jim Ross, business is about to pick up. As soon as you hear that break at about the 1 minute mark,
right,
business has picked up.
This is fucking filthy riffs, man. Filthy riffs.
Yeah.
Fucking the drums are just like they're just playing to the riff. That's what I fucking love. And it's got the groove, man. Vocals have like a little bit different, but it's got this. I think if you want to listen to it more and more, it's that traditional Icelandic, like you can hear the accent and stuff. So it actually, it's different.
I'm surprised this is the direction they took, because the previous album was very much like blasting black metal. There's definitely much more of a death metal influence than they had on the first record.
Yeah, it's famous. But some of those riffs that reminds you of Enslaved Frost. Just some of those higher tones that he's throwing in. That it's kind of traditional Nordic like riffs. But yeah,
isn't it just mind blowing though? The degree to which there are seemingly just an endless supply of incredible bands coming out of Iceland, like for a country that is that small. I mean, I don't even think I think it's just over 250,000 people that live there, and I mean, you can name at least 20. Like if you pushed, you'd be able to name 30 fucking tier 1 bands that come out of that country.
Yeah, 100%. I think they just all they do is put wigs on and grow beards, and they change their name. It's the same
Put
dude.
wigs on, stare at the snow, and
it's the same
play
five blokes. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Same five blokes is doing different projects.
Yeah. Well, so I think where some of the on the topic of different projects, where the death metal influence comes from, these guys are also in a band called Ophidian Eye. Which is like, full on death metal. But so I definitely think there's a bit more of a spillover from that into this than there was on the previous record. But yeah, so far this is top notch. Yeah, a bit of an Emperor vibe in there as well, and especially in some of those riffs. There's a Samoth has a way that he likes to write riffs, and you hear it on the Wretched End, you heard it on Zyklon, and you heard it in Emperor as well. There's definitely a bit of an influence there. The other thing that I have to point out is Ragnar's drumming is a big step up from what it was on the first record, and I know because he posts quite a bit of his drumming on Facebook. He is a real student of the game. I mean, you can hear that there's been many hours of practice that's gone into that guy's delivery ahead of this record.
He's good. I just wish, maybe that if vocals is maybe I can listen to on the laptop, but I have to listen to it in the headphones properly. But the vocals sort of take away those riffs a little bit. So, but like I said, it's on the laptop. So yeah, definitely gonna have another listen to this. This is killer riffs, fucking good.
Yeah,
it's a killer track. So it's good showcase for them.
You and Kelly, by the way, just speaking of Emperor, you and Kelly went to go see Emperor, did you not?
Yeah, we saw. Yeah, this year we've seen Mayhem, Emperor, and then I don't know if you like them or not, but we just saw Ghost on Tuesday night.
I'm not the biggest fan. I like the earlier Ghost records, but
I have mates who went there, don't like Ghost, but they went, and it was a fucking epic show. Like, it was heavy. Like, it was I think people who like the album, it's like this, like a sort of hard rock. When you went to the show, fucking Jesus, it was like brutally heavy. It was like, holy shit. And I was looking around at people like they're not used to it. They're like, what? So, but it was entertaining. But yeah, Emperor was like next, all my childhood and everything was just there. It was just like fucking, it was like it is speechless. No words for it. It's fucking magical. It's like you take in every single moment. And when like everyone else knows, like their albums are just part of your life. They're just ingrained in you. Even if you didn't know, they fucking are, Mayhem, same thing, man. Like, it's just this overwhelming, you get goosebumps, you don't want it to fucking bloody end. It's like I
saw Ishon has now kiboshed the rumors that they were working on new music. But I mean, you remember when Swartolf was on this podcast, he kind of hinted that is potentially happening. I think that he has my theory is I think Ishan has said it's not happening because it is happening. I almost feel like at this point, the more he denies it, the more I'm convinced they're busy recording new music.
Yeah, just fuck everyone around. Yeah, why not? If you got that caliber, may as well fuck with people.
1,000%. Yeah, 1,000%. And also, like, what's a better way to release an album nowadays? Like, some bands I think have gotten away with just dropping it out of nowhere, which is cool because it gets people talking. Like Funeral Mist did that, Ultha did that. Yeah. And then obviously with some bands there's a bit of a build up, but I almost think like at this stage in the game, Emperor just coming from nowhere with something would be it would have that much more impact. Yeah. To if 3 months out they do the same cycle. It's like, okay, here's the first single, here's the first teaser, whatever the case may be.
Oh, I reckon you go on Instagram, you see the same post. That's how fucking it would blow up. Like it'd just be fucking huge. You know, if that happened, like it just, I'd love that. That'd be fucking unreal. It'd be like the best day ever.
Yeah. Well, also, just again, I do think if they did do something, it has to be a partnership between Samoth and Ishan. Without that, it's not Emperor.
No, exactly. We touched on that before. Like it's not the same. It's not like you couldn't give it that full attention that it's not what we want. Like I said, it's ingrained in our DNA. Like as a fan, it's part of your upbringing, of your, the part of your cult of like black metal culture. You know.
What's your favorite Emperor album out of interest?
Like In the Night Side Eclipse, man, because that's
mine.
Like growing up, man, I used to go camping on my own in the bush, and I'd have my tape player with about fucking 30 batteries in my backpack, and just on repeat would be that, and it'd be repeat on Dom Satanas, and and then I have Enslaved Frost. Like these are the classic albums, man. This is what shaped me, like and made me it wasn't a fan of it. It was a fucking a family. It's a new cult. This was my world. This is my bubble when I was in it, and no one else could come in. And I was the most evil, and I was like, I felt one with the forest, and I don't know. You can't.
It's like when you hear that ambient sequence in Majesty of the Night Sky for the first time, it is fucking life changing.
Yeah, when you hear the acoustic guitars playing, and like everything was just like fucking, when it comes in, it's just powerful. And you just like, you feel empowered. You're like, fucking, I think where I am supposed to be.
That was for me the best word to sum up the feeling of hearing in the night sky. In the Night Side Eclipse the first time is empowering. It's like when that album kicks in, like after that intro, it's just like it's like Nordic ice is like just being mainlined through your entire body. It's incredible.
Just thinking about it, and just thinking about it to those moments gives me shivers down my spine, man. Because it's just like that's how, like, I don't give a fuck what anyone says. Some people just go, like it's not cult enough or whatever. But this is the real, true. But this generation, our generation. Now that's what we hold on to, and what we were inspired to try and create that we thought we could never create. So it's appreciation, it's of where we are today. So I fuck a lot.
Yeah, no,
and I would see these Icelandic bands still doing some old school stuff, like those riffs and stuff. Is like, it remind me of, like I said, with the album Frost by Enslaved. That Nordic high tune. I don't know what that scale is, but it's unreal.
Yeah. So, okay, one more question from you, and then we'll jump into this next one. I'm seeing that they're going on tour with Blind Guardian, the band in question. I've just tapped on a Dawn of Extinction news headline. Blind Guardian is terrible. I suspect this isn't going to be good, but that's kind of the point of the news rant. It's like, it's spontaneous enough to where if you're in it, you're in it. I've listened to some serious bullshit on this segment of the show. So, but yeah, we'll hear what Dawn of Extinction sounds like. But over to you first, sir.
All right, ready? This is a good one.
Yeah.
Right, and you have to be honest. Something that was said in any of the last 100 that when it was being said, you had to edit out.
I've not edited out anything.
You haven't edited out not one thing?
Not one thing. I've edited out stuff on. No, I don't think it's a shit question at all, because I'm sure it's a question people have wondered about, especially with some of the more controversial guests. I've edited out parts of probably, I'd say at most about 3 episodes. The only other time where you'll see edits is if we've had a technical issue. So if something has happened where, like, the person's broadband dropped out, whatever the case may be, then I'll put in an edit. But the edits that were put in previously, that was it was at the request of the person. So in one instance, it was something someone said about another band, and it wasn't bad, but they just didn't want the band to hear it and take it in the wrong way. It wasn't anything that was particularly controversial. I don't, I think that's why I have that kind of conversation with people beforehand, like I did with you, like I do with everybody. I always ask, is there something you don't want me to talk about? Because the conversation should feel natural and it should feel spontaneous. It should go the direction that it wants to go. But I equally don't want to ask a question that's going to throw somebody off and that's going to, just going to completely derail the momentum. Like, I'm also not in the business of trying to, have any viral moments or any gotcha moments with a band. I've no interest in any of that bollocks. Yeah. So if someone's on, it's because I want that band to, I genuinely want to have a conversation with that person, but the idea is to make the band look as good as possible. I'm sharing the band's music and the person because I like them. Now, there's one file that will have to remain sealed. There are 3 episodes that I wish I didn't do. So, because I found the guests to be either A, boring, or B, just it was a lot of hard work. I'll tell you when I'll tell you when we're off air.
Please.
Look, one I'll tell you outright, because he's high profile enough to where I don't actually mind saying it, but as pleased as I was to get him on at the time, the Tony Campos episode shouldn't have even made the fucking show. Nowadays, it would be the kind of episode where I would just go, that's going to be binned. I'm going to tell the record label, sorry, something happened. The dog ate my homework. Yeah. But he just was, I tried my best to turn it into a conversation, and I don't know whether he is not a very conversational guy, or whether he's just used to doing Q&A stuff. Some people's takeaway from that conversation was that's a biggie.
That's a shit. It's just a shit attitude, mate. You like to someone to something that like if you don't give a fuck about that, then you probably give a fuck about your fans or whatever. So,
well, the thing is, I do get it to a point, because some bands I've spoken to, especially bigger bands, they get asked the same shit over and over and over and over again, and I think that it becomes so monotonous, and you're on autopilot to such a degree when you're doing a lot of those interviews. It's quite hard to break out of it. Now, some folks, when you speak to them, they actually genuinely appreciate that you've taken the effort to A, actually know their band, but B, give them a conversation and an experience that's different to other things that they've had. So what I've been very proud of in the last 4 years is that I think I'm starting to build up a reputation to where now bands actually want to be on the podcast, and I've got publicists saying, this band asked to be on Into the Necrosphere. Yeah, that's fucking awesome. And hopefully more of that's going to happen in the years to come, because the more that happens, the better the end result for people listening. Because if people want to be on rather than me chasing them to be on, then that means they already buy into the idea of a conversation. You understand what I mean? Right. If they already buy into the idea of that, then it's going to be a better episode. That's just how it's going to work. The more you have to chase somebody, the more the chances that the episode is going to suck. And
I'm just going to speaking for everyone out there, like we, as your listeners, and coming on your show, whether big or small, like the appreciation that the community have for you, Jackie, is endless. You know, what you do for this underground is paramount. It makes a hell of a difference. And I hear like a lot of people, they're saying I'm going to be on Jackie's show, or play their music. They generally is like they've just won lotto. That's the but that is what they feel. They're like they've made it to this next level, and that's only because of what you've achieved on your own with the podcast. But yeah, just to let you know, like the appreciation out there is huge for what you're doing. You know, so you've made it to 200.
You're gonna make me emotional, mate. I massively appreciate that, and I mean, it's not done for praise or plaudits or anything.
Oh, I know that you do it for the love of it, and that's weird. That's why it's honest, and that's why you get the respect, because it's not for any other reason. You would do it even if you had 10 listeners. We know that. That's the whole thing. That's why the appreciation is so high. We know you better than you think we do.
Well, that's also funny. Like you talk to it's. I've done now, so it's at episode 200, the average duration of an episode is 2.5 to 3 hours. So you're talking about between 500 and 600 hours worth of content, of which maybe 60% of it is me talking, maybe even more, because because when I introduced the news rant, obviously that's mostly just me.
Yeah, that's great.
Then you meet people in public or you're out in the world who listen to the podcast, and they're talking to you like with a very significant degree of familiarity, like they know you, and then you have to go back and think, Jesus Christ, well, they actually do know me, because they have been in on a conversation with me
absolutely
longer than a lot of people that, frankly, I've known face to face or I've worked with for years.
Exactly, but this is the side you don't see and don't know, because we take in everything that you say. So when you do meet those people, they feel like they do know you, and they are like you're a brother, because they do know you. So it's a credit to you, Jackie, and congratulations on almost reaching 200, and let's make another 200.
Well, that is most definitely the plan. I think, especially after episode 200, I'm hoping that's going to be a step on to more things. Because again, we won't share who the guest is, but I cannot possibly have thought of a better guest, one, for episode 200. And I cannot have thought of a way that episode could have gone better. Like the individual in question,
I'm pretty sure I've requested her for many of times. I'm pretty sure it's Madonna.
Well, it is.
Yes.
And I'll say this: you will not hear a more candid episode with Madonna anywhere on the internet. Okay, right. Dawn of Extinction is next. As I said, I have my reservations about this, but we're going to listen to it anyway. Spanish metal act Dawn of Extinction have premiered a new video, The Monster Inside. The song is taken from their latest EP, From Tears to Vengeance. In other news, the four-piece is preparing for an upcoming tour with Blind Guardian. That's the first red flag, which starting next week will take them to Spain, France, Germany, and Austria. All right. I suspect we're not going to listen to this long, but let's give this a quick spin. Oh my God. I was like, man. It wasn't as terrible as I thought it was going to be up to when that chorus kicked in. I was like, what the fuck?
I was like, is this another Stradivarius wannabe? Like, fuck.
Also, again, I don't mean to sound hateful, but have you ever seen the movie Sling Blade with Billy Bob Thornton?
Yes, I have.
Right,
Yes,
that drummer, the way
yes.
that he hunches over the drums, he looks like Sling Blade with long hair.
Like it was, yeah. Like it's just your typical fucking. I feel bad by dissing, but fuck it. But it's just I'm not one with power metal, and I'm like, never will be. But
No.
it's just like taking elements that have been done 1,000 times. His Deafy vocals were a bit like airy, like when it wasn't powerful, and then those cleans. Ugh.
The cleans were absolutely abysmal.
Mate.
I mean, there's been one as well recently where it was the one of the new Carnation tracks where the Carnation tracks they've released so far have been very good, and then there's this clean on one of the songs which is like, who the fuck told you could sing?
No, they do it.
Like it's actually so bad. I had an opportunity to get them on the podcast, but I don't want to get them on the show now because I can't not be honest and say
it's
that
about feedback.
Vocals stink. It's like so it's like and that actually, and as I said when I heard the song, like somebody in the studio should have said, let's get a guest vocalist in for this.
No, this is what happened. The singer goes, look, I've been practicing my cleans. I just want to do one bit. The band goes, righto, you've got fucking 20 seconds on this song, and if people say they like it, we can do some more, but if they don't, it's never going to happen again, and I'm pretty sure it's never going to happen again.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It's like
being generous.
Vocals is not in everybody's gift. No. It's not in everyone's wheelhouse, and I think people just need to accept that fact. I could not do clean vocals because I know, much as I think I sound great when I'm singing to myself in the car, I'm no Mark Lanigan. I'm no, I'm no Warrell Dane. So I just don't bother. Someone should have told the dude from Carnation, you got a fantastic death metal voice, but when it comes to clean singing,
keep it in the shower, mate. Keep it in the shower.
Yeah, it's not for you, brother.
This cover is filthy good.
I was about to say this. So there's news of a new Varathron record, and Carl mentioned this to me as well. No song, unfortunately, but it says here, Hellenic Black Metal Masters Varathron unveiled details of their new studio album, The Crimson Temple, scheduled for a December 1st official release on Agonia Records. So you see that December 1st slate is starting to stack up.
Yeah, no, it's fucked.
So vocalist Stephen Necro Abyssos comments, it's been almost 35 years since it all started, but the lust for unholy creations grows bigger every day. Grafted with unyielding devotion and an uncompromising passion, we present to you our new opus entitled The Crimson Temple. The album consists of 10 tracks in an epic 46-minute ride into the depths of our deranged vision. Totally agree with you. That cover looks fucking nasty.
Yeah.
And I like Varathron. I generally think that a lot of the Greek black metal bands, or the Greek black metal scene right now, is ace.
Yeah. No, I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued with the album cover. It's one thing that always gets me, and then sometimes, most of the time, it lets me down. So I hope that it comes to fruition.
Yeah. All right. Let's check out the new Sodom video. So it says here, legendary thrashers Sodom have put out an official video for the newly released remixed version of the song 1982. The latter will be part of the band's same titled EP due on November the 10th. I think this is their 31st anniversary celebration EP, as far as I know. Yes, but I quite like Sodom. I don't feel as strongly about them. I think when it comes to thrash as a lot of other people do, I think there's a lot of other thrash bands that are substantially better.
I've got all their tapes still. So, for me, it was just your classic thrash, it was just good.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people would rate them and Creator, for example, above above Slayer and above, bands like that. I wouldn't do that. For me, Forbidden, Testament, Dark Angel, those bands to me mean a lot more. And nowadays when I go back to their old stuff and I listen to their old music, it still speaks to me.
It was probably these bands were back in the days, it was very the separatist type European and American, and we're just lucky enough to be in the middle kind of thing down here to get all of it. But I think it was just a sort of a continental kind of thing.
Well, one thing that you mentioned earlier about growing up in the same scene and like some of the Australian bands. Here's something I'll proffer voluntarily. One of the proudest episodes I ever did was getting Adam Agius on from Alchemist, because even though it wasn't by any stretch the most listened to or most loved episode, I was just glad that I was able to help bookend a band that I think it's a disgrace that people don't recognize them.
Oh man, I've seen them many times. Yeah, Metal for the Brain over here was one. Back in the '90s, it was one of the biggest. It was the biggest metal festival, and those guys played every single one. Like it was run by them. And Armored Angel, like they're just fucking iconic in Australian metal. Alchemist, Armored Angel was just fucking great.
Did you also feel with Alchemist, like when I saw them in any venue, it was like, well, I only saw them once, I should say. So I saw them at the Garage in London, which isn't very big. I think it can take about maybe 5 max 600 people. But I remember watching them and going, this band should be in the fucking stadium. Like they have got stadium-sized sound. And it's just it's such a shame for me that am I the only person noticing this? Like, you've got a gem here that somebody big should be getting behind label-wise.
100%. Yeah, it was like it was just one of those bands that it should have been a lot bigger than what they were. It's just maybe just ahead of their time. I think that's what it was. It was very. A little bit like experimental with the way they did with their clean guitars over the top. It just made this fucking awesome feeling. Like it was this Alchemist. It is Alchemist. You just knew what they did. It was just amazing. The catchiness of the riffs and just everything about it was fucking amazing. And watching them live is just a surreal experience as well. So
yeah,
it's a shame.
All right. Let's listen to Sodom 1982. The one thing just to say, I think if I were a producer, I would have told them to beef up the chorus a little bit more.
Because it's like
it kind of feels a bit flat. Like we were talking about Creator. Now I think the new Creator stuff absolutely sucks, but the song Violent Revolution, when he does the song I'm talking about, obviously. I mean, most people should know them. The bit where he does the no resolution, but a violent revolution. It's like I think those are the lyrics, but the way the guitar like doubles up on that part and the double bass kicks in, it's like a violent revolution.
That's what I mean. Yes, it's like an anthem.
I would have brought something in there, like because you can hear that they're going for the same kind of thing, like 1982.
Yeah,
add some muscle.
It went like this the whole way.
Yeah.
Like I could have walked. Like that's the thing. I was like, sort of like, there's no heights. There's no like that should have been a chorus. Like that chorus is like a group. It's like like a group chorus. The whole band could have fucking sang that. No, dude.
Yeah.
That's classic. That is classic fucking thrash. That's what you heard. You heard the group chorus. So it would have definitely make it pop and make it. Yeah, energetic. Sounds like 1982 was something to forget.
Yeah, you're right. Actually, yeah, it's definitely lacking something. I'll give you another great thrash album, the Law of Scourge by Sarcophago, 1991. That's fucking what real thrash sounds like.
Yeah, I can't remember that album, mate. I will.
Dude,
I
it
will.
is
I will listen to it.
absolute genius.
Yeah, I will listen to it.
Okay, we'll check out
one
another.
more. I'll tell you one more. The Watchtower, the band Watchtower. I don't know if you remember that.
That's something that's a band I never usually got into for no other reason than I just never, it was just not a band that appeared on my radar.
Before any fucking tech, fucking deaf and tech and all this, they were on a different level. That was like the closest. I always thought that vocalist, I don't know what his name is, was like Warrell Dane's like father.
Oh wow. Okay, no, I'll definitely have to check that out.
Yeah, yeah. Sorry, mate.
All right, we're going to move on to another thrash song in a second. The new Angelus Apatrida track. Katie has been pretty high on this and told me that I need to check it out and I might like it. But have you another question for me before we segue into this one?
Yeah, you kind of like you answered like two of them already within the show, like the guilty pleasure one.
Yeah.
I'll just say one guest that made you like nervous beyond you would have
super
thought.
Easy goal. Goal, without a shadow of a doubt. Dude, I was so fucking nervous. And the worst thing about that episode was Bailey, our dog, started barking midway through the episode. It's like, Jesus Christ. Like
I thought
shut the fuck up over there.
I know. If anyone's listened to that, I think that dog was like a bit of relief for a bit.
Yeah. No, it was difficult getting anything out of him. And yeah.
That was
if I knew what I know now, then I would have approached it quite differently. Like I would probably have tried to lead with the wine questions first. So again, what folks will see about episode 200 is I consciously, and they're going to have to bear with me, I consciously leaned in for about 20 minutes on something I know the person really is into. And that got him, very, very talkative. And that paved the way for the rest of the conversation. If I had done that with Gol, I think it would have been a different conversation. I think because you can see, like, as soon as I brought up the whole wine thing and stuff like that, and he starts opening up and he starts relaxing. That's a technique I've definitely learned over especially the last 100 episodes. It's like hone in on something that they're interested in. Talk to them about that, and then you're going to start paving the way for other conversation. If you just dive straight in with the questions that they're expecting, many of them will just be totally disinterested.
Exactly.
Especially guys that have had those questions a million times from a million different people.
You did it to me today.
Yeah, well, there you go. So, I mean, now it's not. I don't even think about it anymore. I just do it. But I should have been, I think, more cognizant of it for that episode. But I think the reason I wasn't was because I was I've never once been intimidated by somebody, but I was full on intimidated by him. Part of it came from the fact that I had done an interview with him for Chronicles of Chaos over the phone. Yeah. And it was fucking terrible. The episode was the interview was done in like 12 minutes.
You thought it was you. The whole time you thought it was you. Poor bastard.
Yeah, something to that effect. All right. So it says here, ready for a thrash onslaught. Angelus Apatrida debut relentless new single Snob, featuring guest appearance by vocalist Jamie Jaster, with the Aftermath album release on the horizon this October. This is a taste of the raw energy awaiting you. I don't hate Jamie Jaster at all. I actually think he's a pretty cool guy. I don't like all of the Hatebreed stuff, but I think Jamie's heart is in the right place. So,
the respect is there enough. So
without a doubt.
Yeah.
Right. So let's hear what this sounds like.
Feel like a clown the way you love me down. the truth right through your disguise. There's nothing more to say. Pretense is not without the news. I'm on my soul. I found your truth. I find your trap. You can't deny the lost were gold. Pretense is not from head to toe. I'm on my soul. I got you trapped. I got you trapped. You can't deny the last betrayal.
It turned like a bit of Sacred Reich in the end there.
Yeah, it's got a bit of that. I've got one big issue with this, and it's the lyrics. The lyrics are like the sort of thing I would have written as an 11-year-old. You know, when I first got hold of And Justice for All, and I was playing, you know, acoustic guitar and writing my own songs. That's the kind of lyric I would have written, and I find it completely and utterly cringeworthy. You can hear those lyrics are written for Jamie. It's not his own lyrics, because he sounds quite awkward. He's got a very good sense of rhythm and timing and stuff in his voice usually, but he sounds quite awkward singing those lyrics because they're clearly not his.
I will say,
musically, it's not bad.
Yeah, I just feel it sounds a bit unnatural. If you know what I mean, like it doesn't feel sincere with what they're doing. Like it's just too neat. And that hardcore is not neat.
No.
You know, and it's too neat for me. It's too choreographed, if you know what I mean. Like it's just
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. No, that's unfortunately potentially going to get a thumbs down for me.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do two more, then I'll let you go, because I've kept you for about 2.5 hours already. So you're going to start getting
we're going back. Yep.
You're going to start getting fucking circulation cut off to your extremities. Okay.
My son. Where are you, Dad?
We'll do Carnation. So we spoke about them earlier. Hopefully on this song there are no more clean vocals, but it says Death Metal Bringers Carnation are premiering another new single, Cycle of Suffering, for their upcoming Cursed Mortality album. The song can be streamed together with an official video, which was recorded at the FNR venue in Eindhoven and directed by Jens de Vos.
You're stitching me up here, Jackie.
Well, no, you know what though? I suspect that they are releasing another single. I'm just about to say, to make up for the previous one, because I have a feeling maybe the previous one didn't land as well as I thought.
I'm being so critical on this, cunt.
I could be completely reaching, but let's find out. Thoughts?
Well, if David Bowie wanted to start a death metal band, that'd be it.
I actually quite like it, I have to say.
No, he's got a big voice. I just don't want to watch. I don't want to watch them.
Yeah.
I feel like, don't do clips.
Yeah. You know what's funny? I was thinking it as well, and you feel weird saying it, right? But there is something about the way that a band present themselves, like, and a vocalist. I think I've always erred towards vocalists with a very imposing presence. You know, sometimes you don't have to be the biggest guy. Not a small dude.
Yeah.
But I like the traditional front band, the imposing front band. That's maybe just comes from growing up on Metallica, seeing the live shows that they did around Black Album and stuff like that, and then Phil Anselmo, people like that. He seems a little. It's weird. It's like you're hearing this,
I don't want to be critical
death metal vocal coming from this tiny guy.
I was thinking after this show, he's gone to work. Like he works at a nice desk and
He works as an accountant.
Nice people, and then he has a bad. Yeah, if he's, I don't know, but yeah, he's got a huge voice. It's a good voice. It's just that don't do clips, please.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I definitely think, based on what I've heard there, we'll give it another 60 seconds just to see if I'm proven wrong. But I think my theory is correct. I have a hunch because they've dropped. This would be the 4th single, if I'm not mistaken. 4 singles you don't often see. I think they dropped the first 2. They thought, it's going really well. It's built some more hype for the record. Let's drop that ballad in, and then people are like, no, what's this bullshit?
You're going too far.
Yeah. All right, let's give it another 60 seconds. Thumbs up for me on the track, but I agree with you on everything else. Also, again, to put out a death metal album this year, fuck, I don't envy anybody. You're putting out a record in the same year as Dying Fetus, Cryptopsy, Cannibal Corpse, Suffocation, Werewolves.
Yeah, I would have pulled that one straight off this year. I would have said, right, just stick with the singles and that's it, like maybe 2. And we'll stretch it out over 3 months, maybe. I don't know, but fuck yeah, this is not the year for releasing albums, Matt.
I would have bumped out that release to January. I would have said maybe mid to end of January, because then at the very least, it's a bit quieter as far as the release schedule is concerned. You don't have to contend with. Yeah, exactly. You don't have to contend with so many other bands, because I don't know if they've even announced the Deicide release date yet, but that's meant to be out this year as well.
Yeah,
it's just it's crazy. Okay, we'll wrap it up with this one. So Imperialist is actually a band that I got to know through Kelly, because she and I did years ago. We did one of the countdowns for the best records of the year. This was one of her favorites. Yeah, I've really liked what I've heard of this album so far. It says here, brand new Imperialist song, Quiescent Terror, from the upcoming full-length offering has been unveiled just ahead of the pre-orders going up this coming Friday. Transcending Obscurity, which is a top-notch label as well. So, okay, let's give it a quick listen. Thoughts?
Fucking, there's some good elements. That fucking drums, man, just like I don't know what I was like when the kick and the snare just sounds like jumbled like that. It's like I could make that sound with something else. I don't know, but it's different. It's the same but different than the first album. The first album is just like fucking unreal. So I don't know. I have to give this a few listens, but I don't know that snare was giving me the shits. So, but his vocals are like, yeah, it's generally they're really good. That's when it changed because it gave us some variety, wasn't that?
Yeah.
Like it's good you can hear the bass too. I like when you can hear bass go on that, but I think the guitars are sort of like became the bass as well.
Yeah, I would agree. I'm very much aligned there. I think this when the vocals kick in, the song gets exponentially better.
Yeah,
but without the without the vocals, without that sequence, the rest of it is really up to par. The drum's not right. If I were in a studio producing that, I would say to him, you need to change that. Mix it up. There needs to be variety there. Something's not working. Yeah.
If I was holding a secret and I got kidnapped and they wanted to get that out, just play that for another 5 minutes.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I think I have to give it a more listen. Maybe it's just a long intro, but yeah, I'll definitely give it a full listen and go from there. But yeah,
cool.
You know, it's big shoes to fill when you've got an album like the first, and yeah,
completely agree. All right, my man. I am so appreciative of your very lengthy amount of time that you've given me. An absolute blast catching up with you. And I know that we've been talking about doing this for a while, so this was very much long overdue.
We don't we just do it when it comes around. It's the right time. So I appreciate you having me on the show, and I feel sorry everyone else listened to my voice rambling on for so long. So thank you, Jackie.
Mate, I'm sure people are going to absolutely love it. And one of my best friends lives in Australia now, so I'm hopefully going to make a couple of trips across at some point in the next.
Well, you've got a place to stay, so that's any time to be. Well, you've got plenty of places to stay. You don't have to pay for anything, just a flight.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's so many people that I'd love to see, or meet in person over there if I do go. So
yeah,
but you guys will absolutely be, very high up on that list. So
yeah, that'd be fantastic. But yeah,
all right, dude, take care of yourself.
And thank you very much. See you guys.
Road on the streets. Bye bye. That is a wrap on another episode of Into the Necrosphere, my friends. Big thanks to Matt Priso, not only for coming on the show, but devoting a full 2.5 hours to chopping it up with me. Always a blast catching up with him. And make sure that you check out his bands, Conspiracy X, Spells of Torment, and SIK. Hopefully, we're going to be getting plenty more material from this gentleman in the not-too-distant future, and he'll certainly be back again on the podcast. It was almost inevitable that I would need to play out with a song by Nevermore, because ever since I did that deep dive into their discography with Carl Hikara for the Soul Knox podcast, I have been re-obsessing about this band. So I'm going to play what, in my opinion, frankly, should have been one of the biggest metal songs of all time. The track is called Narco Synthesis. It's off the album Dead Heart in a Dead World. But pretty much, if you're not a fan of Nevermore, you can start with the first album, make your way through to the end, and you will not be disappointed. This is one of the very best of the best bands. Like I said at the start of the show, criminally underrated. Friends, whatever it is that you're doing, wherever it is that you are, stay safe, stay healthy, and I will see you bad motherfuckers again for episode 200 next week.